Let's turn first to our Daniel Tsemach, our correspondent who was covering the event for us. Daniel, reports now of more than 4,000 protesters taking part and already several fires that have been started because of these so-called terror kites, these flaming kites. What's the update that you can see where you are?
Yes, Jeff. Well, let's go straight to the border so our viewers can actually see what's going on here. We've seen kites already flying overhead, into around 5 kites we've seen already here. And this is one point. The Israeli military says there are 5 different locations with some 4,000 Palestinian protesters. Where we are currently, we see at least 1,000 grouped together there. We've heard shots fired by the Israeli military, gas being shot over there as well. Ambulances have come towards that crowd that you can see there in the distance. The smoke has been growing over the past half hour or so, and people are still arriving here at the scene. As you can see, a very massive crowd. At times, they've been nearing the border, and we've also heard gunshots fired. After mass crowds will start to get closer and closer to the border. IDF has said that when Palestinian protesters near the border and attempt to actually cause damage, set fire to it, or even breach the border, especially if there's a group behind that those individuals. This is according to a senior IDF official yesterday who was explaining the situation, that they will indeed use live fire in those instances, and we've already heard live fire being used here on the ground. Where it's already now a little bit before 3 o'clock Israel time, and it's quite intense here. 4,000 was generally a low number on these weekly protests. If we recall, the peak was 40,000, and that's indeed what the Israeli military is preparing for today, and we can see that they are indeed on pace for a very large demonstration. It's still fairly early here, Jeff, but obviously we'll keep you posted as things go on. We actually see now a drone in the sky hovering over. This might be one of the drones that is used to shoot down kites. There's actually a kite overhead, but it's white, it's clear, it's hard to see, but a lot of activity here, Jeff.
All right, stay with us, Daniel. We'll be back with you in just 1 second. I want to turn quickly to Shai Ben-Ari. You spoke with IDF officials. You got a briefing the other day. They are prepared for tens of thousands. As we see, it's starting to really pick up. What is the IDF really prepared to do? What is their preparation and their strategy?
In terms of what they expect today, they say that the preparations on the side of Hamas have been very similar to what happened the build-up to May 14th.
The deadliest day, more than 60 killed.
Right, about 40,000 protesters on that day. What we're seeing here is not negligible. Certainly there appear to be several thousand just at this one location. As you mentioned, there's 4,000 overall. I would note that we don't see the protesters moving forward to clash with the IDF soldiers yet. That'll probably happen later on. One encouraging sign is that we don't have any reports of casualties so far. Back on May 14th at, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there were several casualties already, probably over 10 if I remember correctly, and we have not actually received any reports of injuries so far. This is an encouraging sign. Over the Ramadan period, the past few weeks, we've seen that the protests really reached their peak only around 6 o'clock, so we have a few more tense hours, and I think we'll know more around then.
All right, we're back now live. I think Daniel Tsemach may still be with us. We just saw a kite that appears to have been clipped down. It was flying with a large flaming stream behind it. It just appears to have been crashed or cut down. But Daniel, if you're still with us, I want to ask, you were there, you've been there for a few hours. Now that we're in the early afternoon hours, after the afternoon Friday prayers have ended on this final Friday of Ramadan, how quickly are you seeing the crowds grow? How intense is this getting? What's the speed of it?
Jeff, I have to say that we've been covering this for over 2 months now, and it is definitely accelerating fairly quickly. Over the last hour, it went from dozens really to what looks like, and I can't say for sure, but it does look like there are at least 1,000 gathered over there. I don't know if you can make it out, but there are at least 3 kites that are still on the Gazan side. As you mentioned, there was a kite that was shot down on the Israeli side. If you can make it out, there's actually a drone right now in the sky. These are one of the drones the IDF is using in order to deal with this kite threat. These drones knock the kites to the ground. They usually can detect the kites from within 40 seconds, can knock it down from after it's been detected. And ultimately, we did see at least 1 kite fall down in the field really beside us here, and it doesn't seem as though it started any fire. So that seems to be a successful use of this new drone technology. But again, at least 4 kites now flying over the Gazan side. So this is going to be continuing to plague this sort of area. It seems things for the hours to come, Jeff.
Yeah, the hours to come, we will keep our eye on it. Hamas pledging that 40,000 will take part in these demonstrations today. We can already see live on your screen there the kites flying overhead, and you saw that split screen earlier. We have live images, live camera from both inside the Gaza Strip, protesters looking out towards Israel, and this is our camera now on the other side at the Israel-Gaza border with the kites flying overhead.